Welcome to The Pillars. We are a community led space aimed at supporting protocols and educating our investors through intelligent and meaningful conversation. Here we ask the tough questions you all want answered. As you can see from the event description, the banner, and the announcements, we have one of our beloved guests who was, I believe, one of our very first guests we ever had on over at The Pillars over more than a year ago, and has since then come back a couple of times. But since the last time, some time has passed. It's the YouTuber and supporter of Elephant Money, SK Crypto K, and that's exactly the keyword for today. We are gonna talk about Elephant Money. SK Crypto K is only covering Elephant Money. He's an absolute expert on that field. So if, for example, anyone in the audience is invested in Elephant Money and doesn't maybe quite understand it or wants to invest into Elephant Money, this is exactly your time to ask all of your questions. And yeah, today we will cover all the changes that have happened in the last couple of months since we last had you on, the token, what the token has been doing, and of course, as you already saw here on the stage, the NFT, which is also quite new, and also discuss what it can do. And yeah, as you know, the community questions channel is open, so please utilize that to ask away. And I hope everyone enjoys. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, Potato David. FK, other than having no sleep and a fairly newborn in the house, how are you, sir?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good, Mad Hatter, and thank you for the introduction earlier. And it's good to be here, man. Talking about the same protocol, matter of fact. I don't know how many of those repeats you can get, but think about this. I want to say the first time I was up here talking about Elephant Money with you guys was towards the end of 2021. So almost over 2 years. And I think this is our third or fourth time talking about a protocol that's still deep in liquidity, still running, and poised for the bull run. So yeah, man, exciting times that we're going to talk about.
It is, and great opener. I like that. It has been going for a long time, and then we did connect way back when. So yes, it's exciting to be able to speak to a project that has had longevity, to see how it's doing, where it's going, where it's been, etc. I'm sure there's going to be some exciting things to talk about. There's going to be a couple of spicy things to talk about. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. Before we do you want to give us a bit of a bird's eye overview of what Elephant Money is? Because I already see in the comments that a couple of people listening right now that are new to Elephant Money have absolutely no idea who you guys are or what you're about. So can we give them a bit of an idea of what Elephant Money is?
Yeah, absolutely. And feel free to stop me at any point. First and foremost, I'm SK Crypto K. I am a YouTube influencer. I've been at this for a little over 3 years now. And much like most of you, I've participated in so many different tokens and projects and stuff in DeFi that, have either rugged or done well for a time, but largely they're all gone. They're all dead, right? And Elephant Money in this sector, this style of DeFi is the oldest, longest running, deepest liquidity um, protocol that's still out there. And you're still early, is the crazy thing. So, what Elephant Money is overall, okay, is a financial cooperative. That is ultimately, at the end of the day, what this is, or AKA a community bank that is decentralized and offers not only yield, but some of the best store of value out there on the blockchain. And I think he's got a little mission statement right here if you're watching my screen share. But this is essentially where, you can make your plays. You don't have to put all your money into Elephant Money. But when it comes to storing your profits, right, that you're making from other plays, this is one of the best places to actually park your profits, whether it's your real world income or what else you're doing in DeFi. But the products that are offered here at Elephant Money with the longevity that's already been, which, I'll remind you, this coming March, Elephant Money as a protocol turns 3 years old. All right, let that sink in for a second. 3 years is an eternity in DeFi. And to boot, we've been deepening liquidity and getting accolade after accolade, surviving attack and exploit without ever launching a V2 of anything. And we're still standing and on top. Oh, come on. This is going to be a good one. But yeah, that's essentially what Elephant Money is. It's the greatest store of value, in my opinion, not financial advice. And you may find some of the yield generating contracts, suitable for you.
Great, and interesting that you call it a community bank. I think maybe I've started to hear that come into more and more AMAs recently, and it's one of the first times I've heard you guys kind of really describe it in that way, and then double down as to why. Yeah, you guys had an exploit. I'm not necessarily going to go into that too much, because anybody that wants to go ahead and do research as to how you guys recovered, and you are still around. The exploit was some time ago, and Elephant Money is still here. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
should be a testament to anybody listening in terms of what you are able to do when trouble hits. But let's talk about where you believe or think people should start, in your opinion, when they're looking at Elephant Money, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with the website, and if you don't know where to begin, it can be quite daunting when you're looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only thing I will touch upon when it comes to the $330 million flash loan that occurred, that was
Mm.
over a year and a half ago, right? And it was on a mint redeem function, didn't have to launch a V2, nothing, right? That's just what deep liquidity in a founder that knows what he's doing offers you. And since that time, overall, when you even just look at price appreciation, on just the token alone, right? This is not even talking about NFTs or the annuity futures, but the token alone, price appreciation for the last 18 months, we're still clobbering the rest of the world. Look at this now. So we've had crazy. This is the second parabolic run up. This doesn't go back to the very first one, but even with the redistribution that's been happening, and we'll talk about the tokenomics. That's actually the best place to start. But we're still ahead of Bitcoin, Apple, the stock market, most everything. This token alone in the year of 2022 outperformed 100% of the top 100 crypto assets, including Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? 2023, we did the same performance, except we outbeat 89% of the entire crypto industry, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. And we've been outpacing BNB and the rest of the market for all these times. And right now, we're kind of treading along with what BNB is doing, which hopefully, if you guys have been following the news with BNB, CZ's no longer in charge, but his right hand man is. And the $4.3 billion settlement has really lifted that dark cloud that was over Binance's head for all these years. So BNB has a really good future. And the fact that Elephant Money as a BSC protocol is built atop BNB, you've got a really bright future ahead, especially considering the bull run. But let me jump over to this breakdown. Oh,
You
go
guys
ahead.
are a powerhouse, aren't you? You guys are a powerhouse in terms of BNB holdings. Are you still number 2 or 3? Are you still flitting between those two numbers?
We're in the top 5. So I think the
Okay.
very first times we were talking with you, we were outside of the top 10, and then we rose through the ranks. We actually made it all the way up to the top. We were second place for a little bit there, but it's always very competitive. And so we were floating between 2 and 3 for quite some time. I think right now we're 4 or 5, but we're still in the top 5. For having all BNB on chain. Yeah, it's crazy.
Great. Sorry, I interrupted. After you.
No. You're good. You're good. So for any of the new folks, when you look at this site, I'm going to talk about the token, but really you have 3 menu items that are here at this. You can call it a business as well, kind of like McDonald's, right? You go there, you want your Big Mac. Well, that could be the elephant token, but maybe you don't like the Big Mac. Maybe you want the chicken nuggets or whatever. So that would be those NFTs, right? Or maybe you want the fish fillet, which is the futures annuity. But the main thing to realize here, that what Elephant Money does different and better than anything else in DeFi is value capture. I want you to remember that. Everything that I talk about is going to be aimed at value capture. So what do I mean? When it comes to the token, for example, there is a fee collected on the token when you buy it or sell it or transfer it, 10%. Okay, 10%, right? Might be high for some, but as a store of value with the price appreciation, it's going to make sense. But that value capture that occurs goes into this elephant treasury that I'm going to hone in on. And because that elephant treasury now serves as the largest dynamic whale in the system that doesn't dump on you, you get an overall upward trend of the token on a chart. It doesn't always go up, but the overall trend is. And we'll look at that. The NFTs, 100% of the NFTs that are minted, that value is captured by buying elephant token and stuffing it into the elephant treasury. And then same thing with the annuity style futures. 90% of all the deposits going into the annuity buys elephant token and stuffs it into the elephant treasury. So what is this elephant treasury I keep talking about? Right? That's this green slice of the pie. We're going to look at the tokenomics here, but this is Bertha. This treasury is so important. The founder named her Bertha. All right.
Mhm.
And probably a quick thing about the founder, just so you guys know. This is a doxed dev. He goes by the handle Bank Teller, but his real name's Tony Perkins. Okay. He's a computer scientist from MIT, and he has since worked in the business and economic sector for over 25 years. And I'm talking about he was a CTO at Fidelity. He's also worked at State Street, and he's coded programs that they still use today that handle trillions of dollars. So this guy knows what he's doing. He's got a pedigree that's unmatched, in my opinion. And he's been coding for DeFi for over 7 years. And what Elephant Money is the culmination of everything he's learned from every success, failure, the competition, everything is all wrapped up into Elephant Money. And that's why these tokenomics should be exciting for you. Any questions before I move on?
Yes, a couple. In terms of these runs that you're talking about, explain one of the things that we spoke about last time, which is supply shock. Because one of the things that people are going to hear, especially if they're looking at Elephant, is that they're going to hear supply shock coming out, and they're going to perhaps wonder when that's going to hit. Do we get
Yes.
told when it hits? Is there a lever that gets flicked? You know, how does that work?
So I'm going to segue right into that. That's a perfect question, and that's why these tokenomics are going to be good to understand first, right? So when it comes to the token and the supply shock that Mad Hatter's talking about, there's a specific recipe for us to drain the supply that's circulating, such that price just goes bonkers. Okay, aka supply shock. So how do we get there? When it comes to the token, this is a fixed supply token. There are 1 quadrillion in total supply, right? Or 1,000 trillion. Some people like to hear it that way. And this pie chart is a breakdown of that. So of the 1,000 trillion, half of it's going to be locked on this right side of the chart called the graveyard. This is a smart contract. This is not just a burn address that you've seen in, like, I don't know, SafeMoon or other reflex style tokens. But this is a smart contract that always holds 50% of the supply. And via reflections over time, this graveyard will tick upward to 51%, and then it'll rebalance back down to 1%. That's the smart contract aspect of it. And where does that 1% of the supply end up at the rebalance? Right here in the BNB liquidity pair. So it is a liquidity strengthening event and price hardening event. And it all goes right back into locking into this liquidity here, which is locked. Smart contracts immutable. Tokenomics of the elephant token are immutable. And the liquidity is locked as well. So if half of the supply of the 1,000 trillion SK you're talking about, what about the other 500 trillion? What's the other half doing? How does that cause supply shock? So the left half of this chart, this is the other 500 trillion, and it's between, okay, the BNB LP, the BUSD LP. That combined is the marketplace on PancakeSwap. That is where we want to be buying the tokens out from. And then you put it in the hands of the humans, aka the herd, right? That's us right here in the blue. And then you've got that elephant treasury named Bertha here in green. Now here's where it gets interesting. And let's just take a quick look at liquidity, by the way, too. I mentioned this lock liquidity over $68 million, right? And this is between a BNB and BUSD pair. So this is not a low liquidity startup, guys. Like, there's a reason we've lasted 3 years, and it's because deep liquidity. You cannot clone this, and you do not get this by accident either. So this is a deep liquidity juggernaut. But I digress. How you get supply shock is when either Bertha or the humans are buying up these tokens out of the marketplace, right? So we pull those elephant tokens out of the marketplace and it shrinks the circulating supply, right? And when you get a combination of enough tokens pulled out of the marketplace and in the hands of the humans and Bertha, you get supply shock because there's not enough supply to go around. And we've done it twice now. I'm gonna pull up an overall chart. This is the overall chart since Elephant Token came out on May 4th of 2021, and we've since had 3 separate runs. Right, this first one kind of hard to see right here, but this was a little 1000% bump that we did while we were in the flats all this time, and then we had a little pullback. Then we did the infamous first major parabolic run before the $330 million flash loan that we mentioned, right? That was a forced distribution. And then for the last year and a half or longer now, we have now since had another gigantic parabolic run. This was a 1200% run right here. But and what you see right now, since this is just, whale distribution, this is just people selling. But the cool thing is about volatility at Elephant Token is that it gets captured by Bertha, that treasury. So we'll dive into that, but this is a really good opportunity considering the bull run's coming. This protocol isn't going anywhere. We're still sitting 90x above where we even were at all-time low. And this is just going to keep going. So you've had 3 separate 900% plus runs that this has already overcome, including an exploit, and we're poised to do it again. Yeah.
Right. Great. Thank you. First observation from someone already. Some eagle-eyed person has spotted you still have BUSD on that pie chart. What, if any, stable will you be replacing BUSD with?
That's a good question, and I don't have the exact answer. Right now, the BUSD LP, we know that BUSD on the centralized world of things is no longer being issued, but on-chain BUSD, Binance is already committed to honoring it for the dollar that it's redeemable for as long as there's liquidity on the BSC. Now, this isn't going to affect us now, but who knows, 10, 20 years from now, this might be become an issue. But largely, this BUSD pair is going to get ignored. Everything's going to be focused at the BNB LP. And I'm willing to bet in the future, a third LP will be spun up after we go mega parabolic yet again, probably for a third and fourth time. You might have a USDC pair or something. I don't exactly know, but that's a good question.
An observation I have is that a few times when I've gone back and looked at Elephant Money and jumped into the Telegram or the Discord, there was always the narrative of supply shock. It's coming.
Yes. Yep.
And one of the things that I've noticed very recently is there's been a switch to a more retrospective comment on supply shock by saying, well, actually, what you witnessed is that happening and it was going up. And I wonder how many people might have not felt misled, but have perhaps felt it could have been clearer in saying, look, supply shock is happening. It's occurring at the moment. If we're going up, this is the supply shock. At some point, there's going to be a tipping point, and you've got to expect people to start taking profits. Is that a narrative now that is going to start to shift slowly so that people can be a bit more clued up when they're playing this ecosystem, especially since the exploit has happened?
Yeah. So I mean, we have a ton of data over these last 3 years, right? The first major supply shock that you see right here, this is before we knew what supply shock really was. This is when the concept of it was proven true. This is when, oh my gosh, we couldn't get enough elephant token. This was crazy. And then you had your forced distribution. But, we knew if this concept was proven true, then it's just a matter of time before we do it again. And this is what the second one was. This was yet the beginning of another supply shock. But let's dive a little bit deeper because you're onto something here, Matt Hatter. So check this out. I'm going to pull up this chart real quick. This sheet right here kind of shows the last two supply shocks and what we're hoping and expecting sometime in 2024. But we have supply shocked 2 times 2 years in a row. Now we're going for the three-peat. But if I look at 2022, remember how I said there's a specific recipe for supply shock, and it's two things, two ingredients. You need a largely sized Bertha. And at this point, she had 212 trillion tokens of this pie chart. Remember how I said there's 500 trillion that's available, right? At that time, Bertha had 212 of that. And collectively, we drained the LPs down below 100 trillion, down to 92 and a half. What are the LPs? Just a reminder, that's the BNB plus BUSD pair right here. That's the marketplace. So if I'm looking at this, and that's how we did it in 2022, we had a large Bertha, check, and a low LP count, check. Then we had the forced distribution, $330 million, attack. So in 2023, we still supply shocked. However, one of our ingredients was kind of limping along. Bertha, she got drained of her token count during that attack. She fell from grace of 212 down all the way to 65 trillion. And from 65 trillion, we grew her back up to 174 trillion tokens with the value capture. And we still supply shocked. And that's because we drained the LPs once again below 100 trillion, down to 84. Okay, so we supply shocked again with a small Bertha, but with the low LP count. We still got it. So now, what are we looking at in 2024? This is interesting. So despite all of that sell pressure that we've seen, let's look at this part of the chart. Up here, Bertha was at 175 trillion tokens, just like we saw right here. Okay, that's this captured. But throughout all of that sell pressure, because remember, Bertha gets a cut every time somebody buys, sells, transfers, whatever. She grew from 174 trillion tokens up to the current 198. So she's not quite where she was at all-time high, but she is of healthy size. She is in position for the supply shock. One half of the ingredients is already in check. What we now are focusing on is just getting those LPs back below 100 trillion. Because remember, when people sell on this chart, their token is trading from the herd, the blue, and they're putting majority of it back into the LPs. But Bertha still grew too. She got her cut from the sell. So right now the LPs are bloated, right? But we know we're in position. Once these LPs drop from 134 trillion back below 100, we're off to the races. We start going crazy again and outpacing the industry. Even though we're still on top, price appreciation wise, we start outpacing them again and leapfrogging everything in crypto. Hope that makes sense.
Very much appreciate the economics that goes into the design of this. And I know I'm going to irritate some of the people that are listening, because I know that there are a couple of staunch advocates that this won't work and there's lots wrong with it. Now, there's money to be made in the elephant token. I can see that. But I would imagine there are also a ton of people that might observe objectively that something like an exploit on the system very positively allowed elephant money to continue on, and perhaps might have allowed it to continue on longer than it would have, because it removed a ton of pressure by reducing how much people were able to get back by a significant amount. And then new features were brought in to lock that capital in place so that it would then slow drip out. Would that be a fair observation to make?
Yeah, it is. I think arguably the exploit over a year and a half ago is one of the best selling narratives that I even use on these AMAs. That level of exploit, remember, $330 million would have knocked out 99% of anything else out there in DeFi. And you guys know that. Or the team would have tried to launch a version 2 or whatever, right? They just don't have enough liquidity to withstand that. Or the founder didn't have enough control to put in new protections, which in this case he did. So that's how that becomes just another notch in the belt. People may want to use that as a negative. I flip that right back in their face. It's not a negative. If anything, it's a position of strength that we've overcome. So yeah.
I mean, yes, certainly there are definitely positives you can take from the experience. Absolutely. I mean, obviously not so much for the people that were exploited and might have lost significant chunks of their capital, but I can appreciate that there were very much positive to take from it. But did it give license to whales coming in? And I know one of the things you're probably going to talk about is the whale selling that's happening. And the whale games that happen with this kind of thing. Did it give license to whales coming in, scooping up a very large amount of elephant and simply selling at the top that then is they're able to manipulate the price in the way they want to? I mean, somebody sold, I think they turned 110,000 into 2.2 million, if I'm not mistaken, which is
Yeah.
a pretty big return, right?
That's a huge return, and congratulations to whoever it was. At the end of the day, Bertha still got her cut.
Right.
That person still fed the supply shock. But yeah, that was an opportunity. I mean, if somebody saw that kind of blood on the streets way back here, I mean, you also have to keep in mind too, this is when FUD was thick, right? Oh, yep, just another one bites the dust. Just gonna turn away. And that's why we stayed in the flats for so long and we accumulated. But in the
Right.
meantime, Bertha was growing. But yeah, there was probably some people that took advantage of that, and kudos to them. You know, if they flipped it and pulled out way more than they put in, that's all good. It doesn't matter to me because liquidity is what matters here. To me, price is secondary, right? Everyone wants price to go up, and it will. It has for 3 years. But at the end of the day, it's Bertha and the supply shock ingredients that matter. That's why you have an overall upward trend of the chart. Token doesn't always go up, but you cannot look at that chart and tell me that trend line's anything but up, right? At the end of the day.
Right. I mean,
And
yeah, it's
yep.
certainly, especially over the last 2 years, it's had a very good run up. I mean, there's no
Oh
denying
yeah.
that. If you look at the chart, there is no denying that there are no tokens likely that you could point at that did and performed in the way this had gone up until obviously it started to come down, I think, 3rd of October, and that's when people started to take profits.
Yeah.
Um, one of the questions you're going to get, and I know you hate this question, and I'm going to throw it in smack bang in the middle of all of this, is that you're going to be questioned as to how something like this could ever be sustainable if, as a community bank, it's just reliant on fees on the token, which is becoming a kind of a dying process, right? It's one of those things that slowly is starting to leave the space. It's certainly working for Elephant Money at the moment, but it is something that people are looking at and saying, well, actually, are fees on a token sustainable? Where So I'm not going to, say this is an outright Ponzi, but I'm going to ask, where is the positive pressure that comes in externally into Elephant Money? And if there is none at the moment, is that going to be a consideration for the future? Because I think at this stage it's important.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I'm glad you ended it. The last part of the question is yes, right? So when Bertha, this elephant treasury, let me find the stat real quick, but right here, elephant treasury. Okay, of the 500 available trillion tokens, she's almost at 200, valued at $50 million. What
Mhm.
happens in the future, and I'm talking about once we have the third parabolic, fourth parabolic, whatever, her dollar value is such that some of it is actually going to be part of an outflow that does invest in other protocols, yield farming, things of that nature, right? There will be external protocols invested in. Yes, that will come back to the bank. But right now, it's just based on the tokenomics alone and what BT has coded up successfully. Because you're right, you don't really see reflection tokens out there, right? You get all these other protocols that take dev fees and this and that, and it goes into a treasury, but then the treasury performs buybacks and blah, blah, blah. All that shit, it always fails. Excuse my language, right? We've seen
No.
it time and time again. They all fail. Why is it that Elephant Money has survived for 3 years? There's difference in how it's handled here with these tokenomics. There's something innovative and genius at play, and I like to call it the multiplicative effect. If some other people have seen my AMAs, but Elephant Money as a protocol overall is value capture done correctly, right? It's a dying breed with these other, startups because that's what they are. They're startups from inexperienced teams with low liquidity. They can't
Mhm.
support themselves. But at Elephant Money, what it is it's not just the value capture that's happening on the token alone. Remember, there's people that like NFTs. Okay. People, some people don't like NFTs, but some people do. Right. And the folks that buy these NFTs, right? This is 100% of the mint value buying the elephant token, stuffing it specifically into Bertha, the treasury. Same thing with the futures annuity. 90% of all deposits buys elephant token specifically for Bertha, the treasury. So you have product market fit. You have different marketplaces and people are going for different goals. Like you could even just take a look at the NFTs and their position relative to the treasury Bertha, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can look at the people that are buying the elephant token and holding it, right? These two things coupled together alone with the buybacks in the middle happening for the value capture into Bertha. That's a business. That's a two-sided marketplace for a business. It's not a Ponzi, and you can't use Ponzi lightly, right? That is a legally loaded question that has to be, unless you got the credentials for it, you can't just spew that. But you've got a two-sided marketplace. You have two separate sets of stakeholders with two separate sets of goals in mind, working in a two-sided marketplace against each other, right? That is set up for product market fit for everything being channeled into the elephant treasury Bertha. And so I say that, and here's the last part of it, because it goes into this multiplicative effect, which I have a chart right here. You don't have to pay too much attention to all the numbers, but if you just look at the BNB pair of elephant token with BNB, when $1,000 comes into the protocol, okay, and this can come from NFTs, this can come from futures, this can come from the fee collection on the token itself. $1,000 comes in, it's going to change the price of the elephant token from, if you look at it in price per million, it's going to go from 0.273311. $1,000 comes in, turns it into 0.273337. See how the 1 turned to a 3.7. That little bit of price appreciation spread out across the Bertha treasury. All right. Her value hodled grows by $6,000. That is a 6x money multiplier effect happening here, right? This is the same thing that happens with Elon Musk. This is whale economics. Elon Musk has so many shares of Tesla that when the price of Tesla goes up $1, his bag goes up $1 billion, right? Whale economics. We have that with the treasury and Bertha. So the bigger her token count gets, she retains more value. And like you said earlier, Mad Hatter, she drips it out to pay off the liabilities of anything in the ecosystem. That's why you get charts like this. This is Bertha's token count in yellow, growing linearly over time. But her dollar value, look at, even with the sell pressure, look at the dollar value retained because of the supply shockonomics, the ingredients that I mentioned earlier. So it's all about value capture, and it's only a matter of time before Bertha's size gets such that, and the LPs drop such that we have our third and beyond parabolic runs. Hopefully that makes sense.
Great, it does. Thank you. And I'm going to push back a tiny bit because we it wouldn't be a CEE in the pillars if I didn't, and I'm sure some of the regulars are currently screaming at the screen for me to do so. A lot of this, if you boil it down to brass tacks, pun intended, a lot of this is incumbent simply on new money coming in order to be able to very cleverly, and again, I appreciate the economics that goes into how this is designed, but it does require that new money coming in to pay the money that's going out without there being a product that sits in between that has a supply and demand to it. So there's the only product that you have, the selling point here, I suppose, with the futures, for example, the NFT, is that you're going to say, well, you can get X amount out, and that's without a guarantee, of course, because nothing is guaranteed in this space, and it needs that money coming in. So why not shift at this point? And I know you're not the man himself, so you're not necessarily going to have a full answer for this, but why not already shift to something that you have BNB, can start generating some kind of revenue in the back end that gives you that positive pressure into the system that doesn't rely on just someone else putting money in, investing, locking into the futures, buying an NFT in order for Bertha to grow and start capturing those fees?
Yeah. I don't know when that will come into effect. It's a really good question, but it will. It's already on a roadmap. I just don't know when the founder's going to do it. But at the moment, it's just really about teaching the narrative, because the product works. It's already worked. And with the value capture, I get what you're saying, but the value capture has already proven itself, right? I've seen other protocols launch with quote unquote external revenue because they put it in a rehypothecation thing and they still die, right?
Agreed.
That
Agreed.
doesn't guarantee anything, right? But here it's all about, just like anything in crypto, adoption, right? So you do have to sell the product. You have to have product market fit, and you have to have people understand the engine of the value capture here at Elephant to see that, wow, this does have a really bright future. I mean, hell, I thought it was dead 2 years ago. It's still kicking and has deeper liquidity since then. Like this works, and we haven't even gone viral, right? It's just the value capture that's already happening. So really,
A couple of things. Let me just jump in for a second.
yeah,
The viral thing we're talking, because a lot of this is then also going to fall back on the marketing, and we've discussed it actually almost every time we've sat down and spoken. And I know the last couple of times BT jumped in to have a conversation to address those things. I hear what you're saying, but do people really want to understand how things work underneath the hood, or is a product better marketed by making it as simple and as easy as possible? With guarantees in place, because I don't really want to know how a Tesla works. I just want to know that it can drive me from A to B with the amount of electricity I've put into it, if that makes sense. And if I
yeah.
buy a stock, I don't necessarily want to know that they are going to do X, Y, and Z in order for the stock to go up. I just want to know that they're going to be able to perform well enough that that stock does go up. So are we at a stage where maybe elephant money is having to be over explained, and it could afford to be dialed a little bit back in order for people to be a bit more comfortable with it?
I mean, maybe I try to explain it as simply as I can, just with the token and the treasury tokenomics.
Mm,
That's it. That's the bare bones. Like, and you look at the history of how you went parabolic the first two times with just the treasury and the LPs, and the fixed supply, the supply demand with that. That should be bare bones enough. Hopefully, people do enough research in regards to that. The people that are, short attention span and don't want to do their research, they just want to put money in and hope to not get rugged. I
mm,
mean, that to me just annoys me about the entire industry at large, because look, DeFi's got to go global, right? And your mom and dad, your grandma, they're not going to be bouncing from chain to chain chasing meme coins like that. That's what's keeping DeFi in the niche that it is, right? And no one's going to become a day trader. The whole world is not going to become a day trader. Like, just be real. You need a one-stop shop. And arguably, I would say that BT has built the best financial vehicle right here. The car is already driven. The community just needs to learn how to drive it, right? And we have everything in place for that. So the people that like the NFTs or the annuity style, everything that's paid out, nothing's guaranteed. No one's saying that you're going to put your money in and you're going to be guaranteed 100x return.
mm.
Everything in this site is variable, and it's variable because of adoption. It needs adoption in order for anyone to take anything out of the NFTs or futures annuity. Everything
Yeah,
here is not fixed rate. Yeah, it's variable. People should understand that when they come into the system. Yep.
I hear what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. And the last bit of pushback before we continue, because there's more stuff to talk about the NFTs, for example. One of the things that I guess is always I find frustrating within this space is, yes, it needs mass adoption. What it shouldn't need is for people to understand how to play a system in order for everyone else to benefit. And by that I simply mean I love for something to be created, and there's an opportunity here if the external positive pressure is able to be achieved. There's an opportunity here to achieve it, but I don't want to have to worry about other people playing a system in the right way in order for me to be able to come out positively. I'd like it to be in such a way that a dummy can come in, throw some money at it, and it works in the way that it's meant to work. So when they go in, they buy a car, they can drive it out because they know every car is going to perform the exact same way. And then it's on the driver as to whether or not they can actually handle the vehicle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, people, if they have the stomach for it, but you have 3 years of store of value history to look back on this. So you can throw money in, forget about it, check it 5 years later, and the token, you know, reasonably should have gone up, right? Just because
Right.
of the people that are marketing it. And in regards to marketing, I mean, Bank Teller has his hands on what 1,700 of these NFTs that he's putting out to promoters and people that are outside the ecosystem, getting them in. He's even,
Yeah.
I mean, currently right now, there's like a YouTube competition on a monthly basis. There's Medium articles that are being written for a competition on a monthly basis. And remember that BT is doxed, right? He doesn't hide behind a cartoon character. So for example, Bitcoin's doing a convention in Nashville, Tennessee this June. BT is going to be there, and he's going to be, talking to these KOLs and different financial institutions and just networking. Right? It's all about the grassroots movement of networking and each one teach one. And he's pushing all of that this year. I think even just yesterday, he spun up some of the ads that are going to be pushed on BSC Scan. And the last time he ever did that was in this window right here at the first parabolic run up. So he's spending tons of marketing dollars on the BSC Scan ads and then other marketing efforts. So all of that's coming. He's poisoning us for the bull run.
Good, and we'll talk about marketing in a bit because we'll get on to the next thing, and hopefully at some point in the future, I'll get to sit down with BT and maybe press him as to why marketing hasn't come out sooner. Because I do recall him, waxing lyrical about how good the marketing will be, and then never saw anything put into fruition. And I can stomach someone who says, "Well, I'm going to wait until the bull run." I get frustrated when people say something is going to happen and then pivot or deviate in a way that is unexpected, because that can cause a lot of frustration within sometimes already fragile community. But I guess that'll be a conversation that I can kind of have with him a little further down the line. So let's go on to the next bit. Let's go on to the NFTs. Let's discuss those, or is there something else that you had in the slideshow that you'd like to discuss first?
No, I think that's it. I mean, largely the elephant token kind of just works on its own, and it's that baked in value capture that does occur that feeds those ingredients, like I mentioned over here, like with the multiplicative effect, the value capture, and the fact that Bertha always gets a cut, no matter how people slice it. You buy NFTs, you put into futures, or you buy the token itself. Bertha always gets a cut. When Bertha gets bigger in size, that's how she captures more value over time. Also, maybe one other thing before the NFTs, but that multiplicative effect, you know how I mentioned we were at a 6x right now. The elephant token Bertha, right? Her treasury size, when it goes up in token count, which it will right now, we're right here, just under 200 trillion. But over time, that multiplicative effect grows. Okay. So it's not just a 6x forever static locked. The bigger her value gets, she creeps into 7, 8, 9, 25x of the value coming in that she whale with the whale economics hodls onto and then drips out. That's what feeds the supply shock. So all of that's intricately tied. All of these charts, this is all 3 years worth of data. We know how it works. People just need to, do the research on how it's all intricately connected.
Who has control over the treasury funds?
So right now, Bertha still has keys by bank teller, right? And you just have to look at his pedigree too and understand he's doxxed, he's not a nefarious actor. But his goal is to just make this whole thing renounced. Like this is the last thing he has control of right here, this Bertha treasury. The liquidity already locked. The tokenomics of the token, elephant token, already immutable, locked, right? Graveyard locked. Treasury Bertha is the last thing he's looking to renounce. His goal was actually to let it go before the end of 2023, right? But then, sell pressure and plus moving futures away from BUSD in and out to BNB in and out. There's just things he still needs to have control of before he can just walk away from this and let it fly. So yeah, he does have access to the treasury.
Okay. Not too long ago, Bank Teller was saying it was feature complete. But a new feature came in, which is the NFTs. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. There used to be so many things here. It has consolidated because the last time we were here, we were talking about Trunk token and all this stuff.
Yes, we were.
Trunk used to have these farms and futures annuity style thing called Stampede. The farms are gone. He stripped it away. Stampede's gone, stripped it away. Now, and we're not even going to talk about it, but Trunk token does exist. It's a fixed supply deflationary, and it is burned by Bertha over time. but Trunk has its own token that can go well above $1 now in the future. It will be on centralized exchanges, and there is an associated staking contract for the Trunk token called Trumpet. Okay, and it's an always up token. It's its own thing. But there used to be a lot more menu items here. But if it's not working and doesn't do anything, or just there's something wrong with it being too inflationary, he just gets rid of it, right? So what you have right now is a three-pronged system with the NFTs, annuity futures, and elephant token. This is the main consolidation of trying to get that message out there. But yeah, that's what that is.
Okay. Yeah. So two things. Then let's get to what do the NFTs do? How do you what happens when you mint them? What can you get from them, etc. And then I'll have a couple more questions.
Yeah. So these NFTs largely, okay, so these are a really good value proposition if you're bullish on BNB, right? So when these NFTs launched, they cost 1 BNB per NFT. Now, the reason these NFTs are called unlimited, Elephant Money Unlimited, is because technically you can mint an unlimited amount of NFTs, but there's a catch.
Mhm.
Every 10,000 mints, it goes into the next round. Okay. So round one, all the NFTs cost 1 BNB. We minted 10,000. That all went into Bertha, by the way. And now we're in round two, and every 10,000 mints, the floor price doubles. So we're in round two, and you can see that the mint price is actually 2 BNB, right? And of that, the total supply is 14,000. That means the first 10,000 was round one. That means in round two, we've already minted 4,400. Okay.
Mm.
When this supply number goes to 20,000, that means all 10,000 have been minted at round two. Price will now double again. So 2 BNB will turn into 4 BNB, right? So your floor price is always going to double, and there is a built-in marketplace to sell those, or you can do it over the counter if you wanted to, give somebody else a deal. Now, the analogy that I like to make about the NFTs is it's kind of like real estate where there's no middleman, right? It's a very efficient system where 100% of the mint price, again, buys the elephant token, stuffs it into Bertha. But how this is like real estate is when you buy a plot of land, you hope that over time it goes up in price, right? And in this case, you've got the baked in round per round, it doubles in floor price. So everyone who minted in round one, they've now doubled their value, and they can sell it for a profit. In the meantime, on that plot of land you bought, you are collecting rent. Okay. And in this case, you are earning elephant tokens straight up as your reward. So if I look at how much I've collected thus far, my total rewards is 4.2 billion tokens, valued current elephant price at 1,000. If you collect these rewards and you just hang on to it as the elephant token it is, as the elephant price goes up overall, so too do your rewards. If I held this and I don't know, a year or two later, this is 100x higher, this 1,000, right, is 100,000. So that's what you're earning. You're earning an appreciating asset overall in the elephant token as a reward for staking your NFTs. So that's it in a nutshell.
Great, thank you. And I'm sure there will be some people that are interested in the NFTs and interested in easy rewards, and certainly interested in something that doubles in floor price. It's a lot of money that comes in. Is there a clear roadmap from Bank Teller now? You mentioned the marketing in terms of what he's going to spend it on and how much he's going to spend. How transparent is he with the expenditure of what comes out of the treasury and what people can expect as a result?
We know the amounts or the percentages that are going to be coming out of the elephant treasury for marketing. So right now, when it comes to Bertha, there is an outflow that comes out of Bertha, right? So talking about the NFTs real quick, where this APR comes from is there is a 1% APR outflow of elephant token from Bertha that goes into this NFT staking, and then it is divided by the amount of NFTs that are actually staked. Okay. So that 1% from Bertha doesn't stop. It just keeps flowing 1% APR. And as her token count grows, so too does the amount of elephant token hitting that. You're eventually going to hit a point where these NFTs get priced out, right? So, I mean, just imagine if BNB coin price goes up to $1,000, and then we're in round 3, and this is 4 BNB a pop. That means it's $4,000 to get one NFT. You know where I'm going. You get to a point where the 1% from Bertha doesn't stop uh, paying out, but the amount of staked NFTs it's divided by starts to really it slows down, right? So the people that are in now with the NFTs have a huge value proposition in the future, understanding this staked amount is going to slow down, and they're going to keep getting elephant token drip to them. I mentioned that because 1% is going to those NFTs. There's also what's called a performance fund. So that is also a 1% APR that comes out as elephant token. And then on the 1st and 15th of every month, BT sells those elephant tokens to then use for the marketing expenditures, whether it's paying for outside YouTubers to cover something, and they charge $2,000. Or there's a celebrity out there named Darcy Donovan who was like an anchor man and stuff like that. But she's in crypto, and she's got marketing dollars going towards her because they've had a couple AMAs. And then also that performance fund will be paying for like the booth that will be at the BTC Nashville event.
I believe she also went to an event with Brian Legend, so she might be one to perhaps swerve if you can, because I don't necessarily know if she's the best person to endorse the product. But I hear what you're saying. I get that he's spending the money on YouTubers and he's spending the money on marketing, and that's great. And I think, it is no secret that you guys have been around a long time. So,
Yep.
love you or loathe you, it has to be said that regardless of how you feel about the way in which this operates, it is operating in a way that is sustainable for now and has continued to be sustainable. And there have
Yes.
been opportunities for people to make a ton of money.
Yes, it's undeniable. Any of the fuddy-duddies always want to say, "Oh, well, I've already put money into different projects and they never last more than 8 months." Yeah, that's because they're low liquidity startups from inexperienced ass teams. Like, they don't have the talent that is here at Elephant Money. Like, we are an outlier. We are a cut above the rest. And BT likes to talk about the Lindy effect, which is however long a technology has survived and thrived is proportional to how much longer it's going to continue to thrive and survive. Like, we have bucked all the odds already. We should have died years ago, but we're still here, still with deeper liquidity, still in the top 5 of BNB holdings. So yeah, that is a remarkable narrative, resilience, and longevity to this protocol, and it's not gonna stop. If anything, things are about to heat back up in 2024. So yeah, it's really good, man. Good questioning.
It will definitely be great to see what you guys do in the bull run. I look forward to seeing a couple more of the changes, and I always appreciate you coming in, SK. There are some of the community, when you ask them tough questions, frankly, they don't handle them very well, or they shut down because they don't want to have to deal with them. You're always prepared to deal with them head on. I'm sure you understand a lot of the mindset behind what some of the people are saying and why they're saying it, and you accept it.
Yeah.
And you have your own personal reasonings for why you feel you can give a rebuttal, and I respect that a lot. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I've lived and breathed it, man. I've been in all those same protocols people are talking about. Like, I know what you're talking about, and Elephant isn't that. It's so different. That's why I champion it the way that I do. It's my favorite for a reason. It's the last man standing for a reason. So yeah, once people kind of understand how the Bertha tokenomics supply shock really kicks in, it's crazy. And the NFTs, if you're bullish on BNB again, man, this is a great value proposition. But this right now, you look at 11% APR. You might be like, oh, well, I can make more elsewhere. But remember, this is all dependent on the elephant token, the supply shock, everything. This is going to drastically shoot up. So if you don't see the value proposition in the NFTs right now, that's as if, I remember back in the day when people first bought elephant token, and for like 8 months, everyone's like, oh gosh, like, why am I holding this token? It's not doing anything. I'm not getting reflections, up until they couldn't get enough. Right. And then the FOMO effect kicked in. I think the NFTs are going to have a very similar trajectory. You may not see the value of them now, but in the future, hey, there's going to be a FOMO effect that kicks in. But yeah, no, overall, I mean, I think that's pretty much all that I have. Just understand that everything's about the multiplicative HODL value capture, that is Bertha, and how everything in the ecosystem is dripped out at a variable rate to protect Bertha. You don't want something static or to where Bertha is going to get drained. Otherwise, you're not going to get that value capture like you get here. And yeah, we're poised for success, man. It's all about, just looking at the history and understanding where we're going, and we have an easy recipe to get there.
Right. Great. Well, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing it. We're going to be doing a giveaway now. So, as people know, to be eligible, you should jump into one of the spaces, the Telegram or the Discord. I'm sure we're going to throw the links into the community question section very soon. SK, it's been a pleasure. I hope we can do this again at some point, and perhaps let's not leave it so many months. Next time when we can have a catch up a little bit sooner and find out how everything's going.
Yeah, man. Hey, we've already been chatting it up for 2 years, bro. I look forward to the next 2 years, 6 years. Like, yeah, man, we're going to be chatting about this for a while, brother.
Agreed, and I look forward to actually being able to come back in 2 years' time and saying you're still here. If that's the case, I'll be very, very impressed. So, yeah,
For
man,
sure.
thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate everybody listening. We'll get the recording to you. This will go on YouTube, and yeah, have a good one and look after that baby.
Yeah. Hey, man. Thank you very much, brother. Mad Hatter, everyone at the Pillars. Take care.
Take care, man.